Welcome, everyone. Greg is on you.
Good morning and afternoon to a few of you. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed. We're glad you're here. Today, we've got a special treat for you. We are having a virtual town hall. So there are no refreshments. There's nothing like that. Nothing on the side. You can just be relaxed and comfortable. But we have our town hall, and it is on United, that we are uniting against hate. So that's our program for today. So again, my name is Gregory Sneed, owner and CEO of Lifesaver Financial Services, helping my clients to keep more of their money and feel better about it. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage it's October, right? So the upcoming Egyptian queen of the community briefing, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, I will be in Egypt on the 11th, on the 12th, actually. Excited. I'm having a Bianca vacation. I'm not coming back until the 28th, and much deserved. But welcome to the community briefing. As Greg said, today is a special session. We're going to talk about uniting against hate, which is very prevalent going in the world today. In fact, I consider hate to be a cancerous disease. It just spreads all over everywhere without even any effort. We're going to talk about that. I am Crystal Mitchell. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as my own practice, Mitchell Business Solutions. I provide business coaching for for the small business community here in Los Angeles, and actually across the state, across the nationwide, actually as well. So welcome. We have a fantastic team. Mr. Greg Sneed, you've already been introduced to him, Ms. Robin Billups, and you will be meeting her in a second, and Mr. Stephen Turner, who is the producer. He's over there as well. Without him, I don't know how y'all get here. So we so appreciate him. This platform is powered by and supported by Recycling Black Dollars and the BBA, Black Business Association, as well as monetarily sponsored by Los Angeles LDC, Southern California Edison, PCR, Wells Fargo Bank, and SoCal Gas. We also welcome anyone else that wants to support our wonderful platform. This is your network, so make sure that you put your information in the platform. A little housekeeping, make sure you raise your hand. This is probably going to be a lively conversation. So raise your hand before speaking out so that our moderator, Mr. Gregory Sneed, will address that. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Robin Billups.
Good day, everybody. Glad to be here. Robin Billups with the Billups Group. I work with corporations and individuals who are looking to establish strategic framework around the goals that they're looking to achieve. I'm excited as usual. I got a new T-shirt, my new vote T-shirt. You know, I've been wearing my pink and green with all the vote stuff on it, but I decided that I'm going to be black today. And but I look forward to the presentation today. We have 26 people on our live feed right now. I'm inviting everybody, if this is your first time, come back. Come back and support us. Identify people that we need to bring as guests. We're always looking for folks to make recommendations, but we ask you to come back and help us grow this platform, because this is where we get to voice our opinion, gain insight, illuminate, and educate each other. And again, I'm going to kick it over to Greg so we can get our program started.
Right on, right on. So now it's my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage the president of the Black Business Association, the wonderful and beautiful Miss Sarah Harris.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here today. I'm with my other hat on as publisher and CEO of Sweet Life SoCal magazine. But yes, the Black Business Association has been a partner with the community briefing here for years now, and we are glad to be a community partner. And so when for Sweet Life SoCal and joining in partnership with California versus Hate, I thought of no other platform to come to when we were asked to host a town hall on this issue that is really paramount to all of our lives today.
Hey,
We
Sarah,
have,
can you take a couple of minutes and tell us about Sweet Life?
sure. Thank you so much for that.
SUITE, not the sweet life, you know, when you're laying on the beat like who's it? Bianca just came back from a month-long vacation. That's a different sweet life. Tell us about your sweet life.
Well, if I may, what I'll do is I'll pop in here real quick. The publication for me as a background, I'm a creative doing design, but also began publishing a magazine. First started with Save the Date, but now it's Sweet Life SoCal. And this is our article when United Against Hate kicked off last week. And so for here, we have all of our features and stuff right now. And then we have also a hard copy issue that we do as well. And so Sweet Life SoCal, and again, SUITE, thank you for that, Greg. It's interesting with this topic of hate that we have the sweet life, right? But it was started because we want to be able to highlight the amazing works, the innovations, the entrepreneurship, the creatives, the things that we are doing in the community, especially people of color, and uplifting what we're doing. And but in order to be able to uh, appreciate the sweet life, right? We also need to understand too the trials and tribulations we go through as a people, and a lot of that is rooted in hate. And so, partnering with California versus Hate on this particular issue uh, was very much so what we felt as right in line with what we felt that needed to be talked about, because today's world, it's so crazy today, and we can sleep through it. It's easy to sleep through it if you're not really paying attention to what's going on. And we have been doing articles and making posts. We have our editor, Angela Jackson, on the line today. She helped get a few of our speakers that we have today. And we have been pushing out information on if you are experiencing hate, if you are know of something happening, that there is support out there, and that you can go to California, the CAVS hate.org, or call 833-8-HATE, 800-833-8-HATE to get assistance, and that there is support. I was looking on the, let me get to it real quick, on the website for tracking hate for in 2023. And I think that this is no big surprise that the majority of hate is race, ethnicity, and ancestry based. And of course, then religion, and then sexual orientation. One of our speakers here today is an ancestry trauma expert. And so I thank Angela for bringing her on. I'll introduce her in a moment, but she can help illuminate the roots of hate within ancestry means. And so, you know, with us having people to people combating and going after each other, we really need to find a way to get to the bottom of this and eradicate hate in the best way that we can figure out possible. So, and I just wanted to bring up about California versus Hate itself. And my apologies. I'm kind of doing double duty here or triple duty. I'm making sure I'm looking at who's coming in as well as pulling up things, but want to make sure I get this information to you. So California versus Hate is a non-emergency reporting system designed to support individuals and communities targeted for hate. Together with organizations across the state, we can make California more inclusive and a safer place. And of course, again, that is if you are aware of hate or being perpetrated on about that, you can come to californiaversushate.org or call 833-8-HATE. And what I wanted to say about this was the purposes of this program is to help individuals and communities targeted for hate, identify options for next steps after an act of hate, connect people targeted for hate with culturally competent resources and care coordination services, and improve hate incidents and crime reporting data to enhance prevention and response. On that last note, I attended the press conference for kickoff of United Against Hate Week, and one of the speakers commented on that. A lot of people want to use it for political reasons in terms of touting the rise of hate crimes and everything, and make that against certain groups, where if you kind of think it in another aspect, it's actually a positive in a way, or it's as the result of this effort and other efforts of making sure that it's reported. Because before, typically, you don't get a lot of reporting because hate crimes, they just kind of go by the wayside in that way. A lot of people take on stuff or they deal with stuff on their own and doesn't get reported. So the fact that there's more reporting on it means that not necessarily a specific rise, but that is more being reported so that we have more documentation. Therefore, there are ways to be able to act upon that, to do that. So I just thought that was a particular good point to make when I was there. And I'm going to ask, I see some chatting going on, and again, I'm kind of all across the place. So Greg and Robin and Crystal or anybody else who could help me with those questions when we get to Q&A, that would be amazing. So for now, I'm going to stop so that we can get on the road because we're a few minutes behind on the schedule here. We wanted to give ample time to some of our speakers. The first one up I want to introduce is Deneen Joyner. She, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing your first name wrong, let me know, but she is the Ancestral Trauma, and I'm about to pull it up here. The Ancestral Trauma Expert. And she will be able to, she has her BA in psychology, MA in adult education, and as extensive work in social work area. And so I think that it will give us a pretty good enlightenment in terms of the roots within our ancestry for hate. So if we can bring Deneen on, that will be wonderful. And then after that, I'll introduce our other speakers. Deneen?
Yes, good morning to you all. I am so excited to be with you all this morning. Just a little side note, I want you to know that I relocated here from Houston on Saturday, so I am officially a resident here. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with you all, hopefully in person. I'd like to thank Sarah and definitely Angela for asking me to be a part of this amazing collective and on a subject matter that is so needed to be discussed. As Sarah mentioned, I am an ancestral trauma expert. The long and short of that is that my work entails working with people who have been battling, silently carrying emotional pain and trauma from childhood. So when they find me, they are literally at the end of their rope and they have no idea why that they are feeling exhausted emotionally and they really don't know what to do next. So my work allows me to literally go to the end of where they are, where they find me. And that entails me literally going back in time to gain some information about where they come from. So, what I would like to do this morning with you all, just briefly, because I don't have a lot of time, but I really want to make you curious about where you come from emotionally and where you come from as it relates to hatred. Some of you may have been victims of hatred, and there may be some people here who have an underlying propensity to being the hater. And so I really just would like to be able to have you give yourself permission as I'm speaking to really just think about things and give yourself acknowledgement whenever it is relevant. What I would like to do first is really just speak to you about the origin of hatred, the ancestry, if you will. So, whenever I do my work, I gain a lot of information about the person I'm working with. And that entails knowing where they come from. So, I want you to think about where you come from. I want you to start to think about the things that you were surrounded by when you were growing up. As we think about hatred and how it came to be, I want you to think about slavery. Slavery literally was the petri dish, if you will, for hatred. That is where it began. If you think about the slave owner and those who were enslaved, those conditions were deplorable, to say the least. The slave owner took on the attitude of being superior and the slaves being inferior, and also took on the attitude of them being unintelligent. And because they spoke a different language, not English, they became fearful of what it was that they were speaking. Those conditions was nothing but hatred, was nothing but hate. And I'm sure that the ancestors who were enslaved also took on the attitude of hatred towards the person who had enslaved them. So that is why it became the petri dish, if you will, for hatred, because there was mostly that environment that was conducive to it. So slavery, if you think about the slave owner, I want to really just kind of highlight just quickly about the slave owner having that complex of being superior. But there were also slave owners who did not have the attitude of hatred, but had an attitude of shame and guilt because they were associated and because they too had slaves. So there were slaves also who did not have hatred in their heart. But of course, the conditions made them feel less than. So we're bringing this forward, and I want you to know that because of those conditions, most of our ancestors carried all of that emotional baggage from those times forward. And so if you're able to later on research what epigenetics is. It is literally how DNA changes under the conditions of trauma and pain. It literally changes the DNA, and that DNA is passed down. And so if you have ancestors who were slaves, then more than likely you are carrying the remnants from that, from those conditions, regardless of what side you come from. I also want you to know that hatred can also be adopted. So what I mean by that is, just like our characteristics of skin color, hair color, eye color, the hatred itself becomes a characteristic in us. And so regardless of how you see hatred, wherever you grew up, your family dynamic literally becomes the activation for it. And so you begin to adopt on some levels what it is that you saw your parents or your siblings do, what you heard them say about other people, what things that you were told about maybe not being able to engage with other people who were different than you. So this becomes the conditions for adopting hatred, depending on what the language was about certain classes of people, certain groups of people, people who were different than your family. You begin to unconsciously adopt the ways that they think about other people. So I want you to know that hatred can be inherited, as I just described, and it also can be adopted. I also want you to know that the hater, the person who hates on another person, is usually oblivious to the passion that they have and the dislike they have about people. It's usually an unconscious thing. Even though it looks as if they are consciously doing something to another person, saying something to another person, the root cause to the person who is hating on someone is usually lost on them. They are literally on automatic pilot when they are spewing the hatred. The person who is being hated on, or even the person who maybe is neutral and never has experienced this, is generally the person who has the most consciousness about it. They are the sensitive people to it. And so, unfortunately or fortunately, these people, the people who are being hated on and the people who are neutral, are the people who has the responsibility to become the educator, to show empathy, to come up with solutions so that the hatred ends. There are people who will never be able to absolve the attitude, the hatred that they carry. They have no clue or record as to where it came from. There are some people who are haters and will be open to being educated and learning and understanding about why this is on them so strongly. And at the end of the day, they really do want to understand it, because it's literally a sickness. If you think about having something that possibly you have contended with, an illness or even a cold, if you will, for a while you might ignore it. You might not even understand what it is that your body is undergoing. It's a mystery to you until it's not. And so just like hatred, these people are carrying this emotional, unresolved, unhealed karma that has been passed down to them from their ancestors unknowingly. Once they know that, then of course the responsibility becomes on them to do something about it. And that is why it is really important for collective gatherings like this to be able to empower people on all levels, not just the person being hated on, but also the hater.
Thank you so much for that. You touched on earlier when we were just starting on this, one of our hosts, Robin, was talking about how it's a cancer, right?
Yes.
And so when you said sickness, we're speaking the same thing. And when things are inherited us and becomes part of our ingrained like you said, inherit and then in adopting and stuff, that stuff is real and it happens. And a lot of times it's subconscious and we don't know it. And other times you know, you just flat out are bigoted or have hatred in your heart. So thank you for that and giving us the roots of that. We definitely do want to come back to you for more people have questions, but I want to get our next speaker in. So they have opportunity.
And
And
I haven't even talked to Charlotte.
Roz, you want to go on mute? I guess I can. Okay. So I want to bring in our next speaker, who is a community person, activist, and but also he's in the creative space, a filmmaker. Also, too, he started Chaos Network, where able to train others in media and art of filmmaking and all of those kinds of things. But he's instrumental in having a connection and attunement with the community. Before I bring him on, I wanted to correct myself on the civil rights number to get help is 8338 no hate. 8338 no hate. I want to correct myself on that, and I'll repeat it again a little bit later. But for right now, I wanted to bring on Mr. Ben Caldwell. If you can unmute yourself, and please, we'd love to hear your perspective on hate and as it relates to your experiences and what you see in the community. Ben? I know you're there. Can you hear me, Ben?
I'll send a quick text.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, while we are waiting for him, our other speaker too, her name was Michelle Talley, and I haven't seen her come in just yet, so we're kind of waiting for her to come in.
So
but,
here's Caldwell.
Oh, there you are. Thank you. Hi, Ben.
Hi, how you doing?
Wonderful. Glad to have you here.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna turn the mic off. Is there a statement that you wanted me to make at all?
We just wanted you to speak on hate as it relates to your work within the community and the insights that you see therein.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought I would really discuss with you guys about hate is it's coming to foe right now, mainly because I think this country hasn't really worked out the Confederacy. The Confederacy really won the war, because when they killed Lincoln, all of our rights were pulled out, and the people who are hateful now are the same hateful people that I met at school when I first started the school, and they threw rocks at me and called me the N-word and all those things. They're the full-grown adults now. And I think we're running up against these same folks that pushed back on folks who were going to school in Atlanta, going to school in the South. All these guys have been holding this hate in their heart ever since the 50s. And we're finally, hopefully, going to. And so how do you deal with it? To me, I see medium, the way that I call myself a healing filmmaker. As a filmmaker, I think a lot of what filmmakers do is they they work like McDonald's, in the sense they feed our people pablum, and I've been working on the concept of feeding them healthy, wealthy images that they can live and thrive with, and filmmakers can kind of do that. Today, I'm presently in the hospital, and I broke my hip, and I got to see the power and majesty of the teamwork of getting me up and moving, because I broke it Sunday night, and then 2 days later they had me walking, and so I have the team up here watching me, trying because I'm wanting to finish this out. But I thought I would put that kind of perspective to this, that I really am a filmmaker, that I started my business with Dr. Sabi, and he's a health practitioner, as you know, and so I did it because I felt that filmmaking should really work on the idea of a healing methodology as opposed to just entertainment. So I'm going to size out for this second, and then I guess other people can talk, and they're going to move me. Okay.
Wow.
And yeah, Ben, thank you so much for being committed to this process and being willing. I didn't know this yesterday, and Ben was like, hey, as long as it's Zoom, I can do it. So Ben, that just speaks to the incredible, ness of this man. He is such a strength in our community and is upholding truth, love, and light, and moving us forward. And everything that speaks against hate, he's a representative of. So to have him on our platform, I just thought how amazing. And the fact that he didn't back down, but was willing to still speak. Ben, I just have to give you so much credit. And thank you for the love, because the only thing that's going to overcome hate is love. So thank you, Ben, for being an example of that. I really appreciate you for that.
Wow. That was Angela Jackson, you guys, editor of Sweet Life SoCal magazine. And I was just getting ready to say the same thing, that we want to see examples of opposite of hate and love. The commitment that you stayed with this and didn't know. We do certainly wish you the best and quick, get well quick and everything. But we thank you for staying on and showing an example of love and commitment to this.
Also, Angela and I just at the start of this year worked on a play that's called Love in Exile, and it deals with love letters from prison and other places that people are locked up. And so it was love letters between Nelson Mandela and his daughters while he was in prison. Talking, both he and his wife were in prison. We have one of the young guys from Ireland that did 66 days strike on prison. So we read one of his letters. We have also didactic letters from folks that were in Guantanamo. And we have a Japanese young lady that did a whole poem on the whole idea of poetry, using haku poem as a matter as dealing with these various issues. And so it was a very powerful play that we were able to do that showed the power of a word to go through bars, prisoners, and time. So that's a beautiful thing.
Well, love to hear more about that. But in the way that California versus Hate partnered with the media, especially ethnic media, to be able to tell the stories, to not only report and what the stats are, what the situation is on the ground, but also to tell the stories so that we can better understand this, because that's a major way of combating and helping to eradicate hate. So we thank you for your contributions on that, and look forward to hearing more about Love in Exile. So we have one more speaker, Michelle Talley, and I don't see her at the moment. I don't know what may happen with that, but at this particular time, if we have any questions from anybody for either Deneen or Ben, we would love to be able to hear if you just have something that you would love to comment on. Nobody just yet. I did want to say, and unless somebody is picking up on something, I did want to say that I was uh, listening to this story that involved about Native Americans and the plight they're in of taking of land and everything and just stripping of all that culture. And one of the parables that was came up in that was about how when people came to a land and everybody was, communal and coming together. And then there's one set that, said, okay, now they want to take. Then what happens is um, oh no, it was communal, and that the way that the breakdown came in was when it was introduced about language and how everyone you know you communicate with your own group and everything, and when you have language that creates that barrier, then that brings up a way where people then now they see each other differently, and then it creates those opportunities where now it's like judgments and biases and all that kind of stuff. So the more that we can break down that communication barrier is where we get to the root to come back to love and not hate. And I really obliterated the whole thing on that, but I wanted to get to what the root of it was about communication. And the more that we can come together and communicate, the more that we're able to combat against hate, because communication also breeds information and knowledge and not ignorance. Is there any, let's see.
I've been trying to figure out how to raise my hand, so
okay.
Let me know when permission to speak.
No, pop on in for me, please, because I'm trying to see it all on this board. It's on everything. And I do see Greg. So after you, Lisa, we'll go to Greg.
Okay, I just wanted to first express my infinite gratitude to the conversation. I feel like it was very necessary many, many years ago in my life. But I just want to open up my comment with a quote by Martin Luther King: "Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." And I wanted to express my gratitude to Dr. Deneen for explaining the epigenetics of the whole hate process. I think understanding, well, that it's a learned behavior, but this gave perspective on the inherent perpetuation of hate and people not even knowing. And then two, how we learn to reciprocate that from experiencing or having it projected on us so much that we see injustices. And at least I can only speak for myself. There have been moments where my mindful prayer every day is to be kind to others, even when I may not feel like it, because I see things and I'm like, okay, does that make me hate? Because I see experiences and opportunities afforded to people who are not even from this country, knowing the foundation for which it was established. I think sometimes makes me believe that, okay, I have to question myself, is that hate? And so this gives me an opportunity to reinforce those kind, mindful thoughts so that I don't project the same thing I feel like I experience. So I want to thank you for this panel discussion and this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Lisa, Greg, you have comments?
Every now and then. So first of all, I wanted to put some prayers and hope for health and recovery to you, Ben. Of quite the experience, and I guess chaos in a different way. I did put your information in the chat about your chaos network, and I see it's spelled chaos with a K. Which reminds me of was it Get Smart Chaos Network? I think it was spelled the same. My question is for Deneen to speak more about hate, because I always looked at hate as something being taught, that infants, at birth or age 1, 2, and 3, they don't exhibit a lot of things of hate, and then they learn hate from family. So part of you speak to a little bit about being taught hate, and then you raise an interesting concept about hate being within DNA. I hadn't heard that before, so that was new information for me. Could you speak a little bit about learning hate versus inheriting it? As little kids, we hate eating vegetables, but it's a different, different kind of hate.
Yes. So thank you for your question. So what I'm speaking of when it comes to the inheritance of hate is similar to the generational curses that we hear about that are also inherited and passed down. And the generational curses can look like an array of things, but just to give you a little snippet of what they could look like, it could be there is a perpetuation of some form of drug addiction in the family. There is a perpetuation of single family parents in the family. There is a perpetuation of cancer in the family, incarceration in the family. So those things.
What about mental illness?
Yes.
Because we all know some families that everybody's great.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And so this is passed down because there was a point in time when an ancestor, just like us, encountered an emotional event and it was left unresolved and unhealed in their lifetime. And that event literally changed the DNA in the family. Just like the characteristics that I mentioned, skin color, hair color, eye color, you're left-handed or right-handed. We don't think twice about those things. They just are. But there's also things that are playing out that we are unknowingly aware of. And those are the curses that I just spoke of. And so hatred is and can be inherited. And I believe that it, like I said, started at the very beginning in slavery, depending on your ancestor, what role they played in slavery. And so the conditions were ripe for hatred there. It doesn't mean that you will experience or are the person perpetuating hate. But I ask people to just be mindful of that it exists in all of us. It's just like those characteristics, how they show up is going to be different. Even in your siblings, your experiences with what it was that you saw, heard, felt at any given time is going to be different more than likely than even your siblings. So hatred can show up within a family home or not. And it's really up to us to be more conscious of the fact that it does exist. It can exist within without maybe you even being aware of it. And different scenarios become triggers or activation for it.
Thank you for that. Yes. For me personally, I believe in terms of how we are just in nature as it is, that as more things that keep happening over and over and over and over again, we get conditioned and we adapt, and it just comes a part of us. And so when all of that happens, it has to be reversed in the same way in terms of unlearning it, undoing it, all of that stuff, so that we can eradicate it even from our own being. So I thank you for that perspective on that.
You're welcome.
I wanted to also, we have a couple of people in the audience today. Ms. Leah Brown, who is the Operations and Compliance Director for Stop the Hate Project related to California Black Media. California Black Media is the network and platform organization that Sweet Life SoCal was brought into for this effort, and it's led by Ms. Regina Wilson, and she is amazing at go-getting and making sure that ethnic media is supported and that we have the dollars and opportunities to be able to have a voice and opinion. So I want to thank California Black Media, and also Brandon is here as well. Brandon, forgive me, is it Brooks? Yes, Brandon Brooks is in the house too. Okay, we have another raised hand by Angela Jackson. You have a question or statement?
Well, definitely some statements. One thing, definitely, if you're trying to raise your hand, just go to the reactions and you'll see the raise your hand button. There's been a couple of people that have said that. And then I also wanted to mention that we're talking about hate. And for someone who really went through that and had a terrible situation with that, dealing within our public school system, I wanted to just kind of like really talk to you about a little comfort I got when I was at the press conference talking about the different events coming up for United Against Hate Week. And the comfort that I got was listening to a young man, or a gentleman, maybe not young, I'm always calling people young, who spoke about hate he went through and how he was able to call 211 and they were able to refer him to LA versus hate and that whole committee. And he was able to get the help he needed, the support he needed, not just with counseling, but also in being able to move and all the support that he needed, he found on 211. And I thought that was amazing. I also thought that and think it's amazing that LA County is leading the way with this whole California versus hate movement. In fact, they modeled their whole, structure after what LA was doing, Los Angeles was doing. So I think as citizens, we probably can just really pat ourselves on the back, and feel good about that because, hate is very painful and it can stay with us and it can keep us from, becoming our best selves and fulfilling our purpose. It's a weight on you. And so I really appreciate Deneen and Joyner and what she shared in her work, because we have to learn how to process it so we can let it go. And then I appreciate Ben and the love that he is always bringing and sharing, and how that comes in, like love conquers hate. But how do you process and how do you move through that? That's our own personal work that we have to do. That's the work that I do with people as a life coach, as a mindfulness coach. But this idea of hate and brushing it off as if it's just going to go away, that's not reality. We have to grow through this. We have to have these conversations. So I really thank Sarah, and I thank her for being an amazing publisher and leading the way with Sweet Life, because a lot of times what we do with Sweet Life in the articles that we are able to, our writers are able to go write about, you're not going to see that in the common media, right? You're only going to see that in a magazine like Sweet Life SoCal, and it's going to deal with the love and the challenges that we've come across. And many times those challenges are challenges that are the root is hate, and we have to overcome that. So just wanted to just kind of like share those thoughts and bring this thing full circle, and just how wonderful Sweet Life is just a natural partner in this. And so I hope that we continue to work and grow in this area, and that they put more funds for us to heal behind the hurt of the hate and the the effects of the hate, because we are dealing with it every day, you guys. We are dealing with it every day, and we need to heal. So thank you for everyone that's spoken, and I appreciate this platform.
Thank you so much, Angela, for that. Renee, I'll get to you in just a second. But I appreciate your words, Angela, and we really more than ever have to be very vigilant, because AI and all kind of other efforts out there, it's just getting harder and harder and harder to combat. But we have to keep our armor up and stay on guard with it. I want to acknowledge also James Williams with California Civil Rights department is here in the house too. So thank you so much, James, for being a part today. We have a couple more questions, and then if any of our guests, James, Leela, or Brandon wanted to speak or anything, I'll let you have a moment. So Renee, real quick, we have a few minutes.
Good morning, and thank
Good
you
morning.
for I was unfortunately late today, but I wanted to hear Ben Caldwell, and I was able to do that. And I just want to say what a beautiful job that he's done in chaos and in the community. And we've even tried to put together a program over in Tanzania. His stretch is everywhere. And if you haven't visited Chaos, I invite you guys to set something up so you can see what goes on there. But in terms of the reading that he mentioned, I would like to suggest to you, Ben, I don't know if you're still there, but to have that reading at the Readers Theater in Leimert Park, and to open it up to the community as much as we can, either at that facility or at another facility. We're doing a big thing at Nate Holden Theater coming up, and if we could squeeze some of that in, it would be great. But that's what I wanted to say. I want to see if we can get that on stage in Los Angeles.
I would love to do that. That's the way I was thinking of this project. We've done it once. It's been done 3 times so far. We inaugurated it in Portugal, and in Portugal it was inaugurated because they had asked me, of all things, can you imagine? They asked little old me to read a letter to Angela Davis while Angela was there, that was from George Jackson to her while he was in prison. Wow. So one of those letters are a part that's in there that's really touching. And so okay, we are inaugurated. Sorry, I'll go to start the work with her. Okay. So we inaugurated it there, and then my co-producer gave me the rights to kind of do it here in Los Angeles, and so we ended up doing it with Angela and all of the team. It was about 12 folks, and it worked really well at the Greenway Theater behind Fairfax. We used that theater. And then the third time we did it was in Santa Barbara. And that Santa Barbara one was a piece that we chose selected pieces out of it. And we ended up doing it as a kind of a Nyobengi blues. So we had a bass player, a harmonica player, and a lead singer that I don't know if you know Renee Fisher Mims. She's one of the ladies that keeps the world stage down, and so she ran through all of the wonderful voices of our past, like a Sarah Vaughan-ish and Billie Holiday, and all those kind of mood pieces as a means with a Nyobengi beat. And it was a way for us to take out the place that this project took people's head, because the first one I was going to end it with one of Michael Beckworth's pieces about how powerful we are and how that this is your time. This time you're here for a particular reason, is to make the changes in life right now. So I had that as a piece, but they didn't have a playback. And 2-3 people told me that it was so powerful that it ended up pulling them into a place that I needed to get them out of. And so we ended up doing that at the second place when I was in Santa Barbara, and that worked real well. So we're ready to do it in other places. It's extremely interesting play. I felt it accidentally fell in my hands because of asking me to do the Angela piece. But while I was there, I don't know if you guys know Julie Dash and Charles Burnett. All of those guys are filmmakers. We were over there presenting our work in Europe, and they all told me that I should do it again. So that's the reason I ended up doing it in February, and then we'll continue on with that
thank you.
as needed.
Thank you, Ben.
And I'll reach out to you separately about a production that the productions that I just mentioned. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you're.
Thank you. Thank you, Renee and Ben. Yes, always a community effort to support a project like that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have just a few minutes left. We'll make sure that we have get in another question. And then we'll have the announcements and to wrap up for the day. But Danette, you've been waiting patiently. You have a question or comment?
Hi, yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Angela, for the invitation. And I see Lisa's comment or question in the chat. So I know we're almost out of time. And my question was something similar. I'm wondering what your thoughts are, or what the panel's thoughts are, particularly Ms. Joyner, about ways we can heal from the intergenerational things that we've, in terms of hatred, and how we, that we've maybe inherited or just been exposed to for generations in our family. And then what are your thoughts about when the hatred becomes internalized hatred against self? The internalized racism, the internalized misogyny, just these things that have been internalized because of intergenerational exposure to the same types of hatred.
Is that for Deneen or for me?
For anyone, but specifically Ms. Joyner, because she's the one that talked about the epigenetics of just the hatred and just the intergenerational aspect of it.
Yes, thank you for your question. I wish I had more time to answer it in great length, but the short of it would be, it definitely begins with self-acknowledgement of, of what it is that you know about hatred and how it is impacting you currently. And then doing basically something that I actually implore my clients and students to do is something called soul mapping. And soul mapping actually allows you to create bubbles or circles, and you being the center circle with your name on it. And you create these circles of your family, whatever that looks like. And you literally start to identify the things that you heard this person say. And it could be towards you in a hateful way. It could be towards other people in a hateful way. And you do this for each family member. And before you know it, you have a pretty big collective of things that people have said or have done towards you or towards other people. And then you create your bubble last, and you identify the things that you have adopted from being around your family so that you can clearly see what it is that you have been saying to yourself, what it is that you've been saying to other people. Most of this is unconscious things that come up. Once you're able to identify and really start to see how your family system, as I said, becomes the place that activates a lot of this stuff, then depending on your relationship with them, you actually could bring them together and start a conversation. Because more than likely, they're unaware. More than likely, you are the sensitive person, the person who is mostly in tune with what has been going on and playing out within your family home. You might not want to do that, because sometimes I hear that as well, that is a huge task for you to take on and feel like you have to educate and empower your family. So it starts with you. Always begin with yourself. Do the things that you can do. Definitely reach out to someone like myself who could literally, take you through some paces of things that you can start to identify and work on your own. I'm going to share and send with Sarah later.
Yeah.
I'm going to send a link. It's a free 15-minute self-discovery call that each of you can take advantage of should you choose to. So I'll make sure that I get that to her.
Thank you so much for that. And I wish we had more time. I really do. I wish we had more time We are over time. Lisa, I know that you spoke before, but I did want to give James Williams from the California Civil Rights Department a moment to speak, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. And I'm so sorry for the shortness of time here today. But James?
Good afternoon, Sarah, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I just wanted to briefly let you know that I moved things around on my schedule when Brandon invited me to attend, or invited the California versus Hate team to attend. And I thought it was so incredibly important to just join you today to say simply thank you, thank you, thank you for lifting up the work that we're all doing, but particularly the work you're doing to ensure that we address the issue of hate, and also lifting up the hotline. It's just been, can't find the words. I get choked up because it's so, I get emotional knowing that one day I was sitting in a room and all of a sudden it just blossomed, this hotline. And to thank you all on behalf of our director, Kevin Kish, the California Civil Rights Department, we thank you so much. Thank you. I will yield.
Thank you, James. We appreciate certainly your effort and everyone's effort to stay within the fight here, because we have to just stay in the fight. So with that, we have our program with our United Against Hate Town Hall. I want to thank everybody for your participation. There's announcements that is usually done at the end. Of course, everybody want to make sure you tune in to Information Wednesdays at the new townhouse. Roz had put the information in the chat. We will continue to disseminate that information as well, but that's every Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the new townhouse. If there's not any other announcements or anything, I'm going to get it off of me and kick it back over to Crystal so that she can close us out. Thank you so much for having Sweet Life in the house today for this important discussion.
Thank you, Sarah. It's awesome. It's so important that we have these discussions, and hopefully we will continue to have these discussions. And hold on, I'm gonna switch out from here. We can continue to have these discussions because they're so important, and hopefully we can do it on a bigger scale, a longer time, because this is important. I did put in the chat, I don't know if any of you know of Dr. Joy DeGruel, but she's written a number of books, but one of them is Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, which deals with us and hate, and also explains why white America hates us so much. There's a number of other books. One of the things we have to keep in mind when it comes to us, we were unpaid labor, which means that we were the capital that created this country, and millions of dollars were generated from our free labor. And so us being free makes that a very uncomfortable and a challenge for I'm gonna call them our colonizers. And so we have to be aware of why this comes about, and we also have to deal with the issues. I don't stand for microaggressions. I speak out. That's just who I am. And I also post a lot, and I've learned how to do it without being canceled on Facebook. So that might be something you guys want to learn how to do as well. Just use different words. But it is important that we stand out, and hatred has taken on a whole life of its own in this world. The former president gave everyone license to openly hate us and everybody that doesn't look like them. And so we have to not have our heads in the sand and understand where it's coming from. But we do want to thank you for joining us today. All of you, I think we had about 37 people on the call today. Please come back. These are the conversations we have. Next week, we're having a recap of the State of Black LA, which is being hosted by the Los Angeles Urban League. My understanding, they sold out with 700 people at UCLA for the 10th. And so that's pretty awesome. So come back. It's going to be a major open forum conversation next week, and we'd love to have your input on that. And how that affects us. I think Robin wants to say something.
Yeah, the State of Black LA is being hosted at USC and it's being covered by NBC and Telemundo. So this is pretty big activity.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So please come back, guys. I hope you put your information in the chat. We do have your sign-in information, so we'll be adding you to our mailing list if that's okay with you. Just put that in the chat as well. And Sarah, awesome. Thank you so much for allowing the community briefing to be the platform for this. And this is the purpose of the community briefing. It's to be the center of information being disseminated to our community. Very important information, meeting our leaders and stakeholders who are working and foot soldiers who are working hard in our community. And so please come back, please share. I will get this video edited and put up like later on today. And so and Sarah, I will do some clips of it so you can post it on your social media and on your website as well. So thank you all for joining us. Please, voting. I think we are probably now in 30, no, we're like 29 days right now. So I'm gonna ask everyone a favor. Diddy is a millionaire. Let him deal with his drama. We need to deal with our drama. And our drama is November 5th for election day. So put Diddy and all those rich people to the back burner. Deal with them in November later after the 5th. That's what I'm going to ask you because it's so important. Vote. And go over to the new townhouse and have a conversation. Emma, I know Roz just did her thing, but the information's in the chat, guys.
I saw it.
And we will see you all next week. Well, I won't. I'll be on my way to New York. And then I'll be on my way to I'll be on my way to Egypt. I'll see you at the end of the month.
Have a good time. Guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Greg, you're gonna have to stop. Well, I can't do anything on my side. So Greg, I'm gonna put you in the host mode and then you can actually take it from there, okay?
Stop the recording here.
It worked. It stopped. My red light is gone.
Yeah, we're still on Facebook.
It's recording.
We're still live.
Yeah, I can't stop the Facebook from here.
Okay.
We have to all leave.
So we're gonna leave all out, guys, so I can stop the
Bye,
Facebook.
you guys.
Bye-bye. Why can't I? Jesus.